What do you think?
I think we're dead meat. Real dead meat.
You're dead meat! Go ahead and laugh, you guys. If I ever find a little bastards that did this, they're dead meat.
Hey everybody, welcome to the answering portion of the Dead Meat 2020 Q&A video. When I asked for questions earlier this year, you guys responded with over 7,000 comments on that video. I have picked not 7,000 of those to answer, and here they are. Gabriel Giraldo asks if I think I could survive one of those saw traps, especially if they were one of the fair ones put together by John Kramer. Honestly, I think if it were a fair one where I could actually escape the thing with my life, I think I could do it, man. I just think that's a personality trait of mine, is that I'll do what needs to be done, especially if it means living. I really like living. It's probably my favorite thing to do. Anything I can do to prolong that, I will do so. What are the fair ones though? Crawling around in barbed wire to look for something, I guess, you know? If it's either that or just die, yeah, I'll fucking do it, man. I'll survive your trap, John. Nicholas asks if my taste or preference in horror movies has changed since doing kill counts. As you all know, I'm a lifelong fan of horror movies, but there was a large portion of my life where they were kind of on the back burner, and they only came to the forefront again when I started Dead Meat in 2017. When I was a kid, which was the last time I was truly obsessed with the genre,
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face.
My favorite subgenre was slasher movies. I've said many times on this channel before that I made a horror movie website when I was young, and that one of the things I had on the website was body counts of the movies I watched. And it's the same thing you see in the kill count. I would write down when they died, what weapon it was from, who did it. In fact, I bet I still have the local files. Keep in mind that this is no longer on the internet. Oh God, okay, so I found some files. They were last modified May 2nd, 2004. Here's my bio page with a ridiculous picture of me with my very long hair and chain around my neck. But this says I'm aged 15. My hobbies include video games, comedy movies, women. That's real good, dude. Wow, I fucking sucked in high school. But even back then, I owned 159 horror movies. Last I checked, that counts up to over 500 now, and they're Blu-rays, not fucking bootleg VHSs like most of those were. But yes, getting back to the original question, my taste in horror movies has changed dramatically, because now slashers are probably my least favorite horror movies. Like, I see people saying The Funhouse is a masterpiece. All due respect to Tobe Hooper, but no, it's not, man. It's a Frankenstein getting a hand job, and that's the only interesting thing about that movie.
Feels good, huh?
So now, I don't know, I like horror movies that do new things, that try new things. But really, even if a movie is a slasher, if it's doing something really different and crazy, I'm into it. Zippet Taylor asks what my favorite and least favorite horror movies from 2019 were. It's always hard for me to pick just singular favorite things of anything, because I like a lot of different things for a lot of different reasons. So some of my favorites in 2019, tone-wise, I really loved Ready or Not. I love how funny it was. Aesthetic-wise, I guess you could call it, I fucking love The Lighthouse and how it's this weird 4x3 black and white movie with two sailors talking seaman language to each other, and it's just fucking weird. I love that. And then as far as like epic scale horror movies go, I really love Dr. Sleep. I think Mike Flanagan did an amazing job with it and actually improved upon the novel. Like, I enjoyed the novel, but I think he added a lot more stakes and a lot more interesting scenes to it. Least favorite, it's always even more difficult for me to pick least favorite things, because after a certain point it all just is kind of, you know, meh or even worse. But I actually didn't really like The Color Out of Space. I thought it was weird in a way that didn't add up to anything in the end. It just kind of felt incomplete to me. Oh, the Pet Sematary remake, it was pretty boring, but so was the original movie, so meh.
No fair.
Sleep Paralysis Demon asks, what's the most annoying horror cliche? I don't know, man, there's so many. Anything that involves a character being dumber than they would in real life. I can't fucking stand it. And I think it tends to happen more often in older movies where I guess people were more understanding or accepting of the characters being fucking stupid. But to me, if a plot point hangs on characters not having a conversation that any two normal fucking people in real life would have, I think that's weak writing. But also, you know, running and tripping, that's dumb. Xander asks what my favorite event I've ever gotten to go to because of Dead Meat, and I think it's a pretty easy answer for me. The Dr. Sleep experience at the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. And the story behind going there is actually a little crazy because we didn't get word of it until I think a week before it happened, and it was taking place the same weekend that we were scheduled to be at Scaricon in upstate New York. So that was really important to us, but so was this Dr. Sleep experience because not only would it be at the Stanley Hotel, but it was also a chance to meet Mike Flanagan, who we're huge fans of, and they were paying us to do it. And with our upcoming wedding, we were like, that could actually help us with the wedding, so we kind of have to do this. And thankfully, the guy who runs Scaricon was very understanding, and he allowed us to come for Friday and Saturday, and then we left Sunday morning. It was an insane travel thing, but I mean, we did it. And I love the video of us getting to talk to Mike Flanagan about Dr. Sleep. We got to see Dr. Sleep there, which was awesome. And there's a really fun podcast that came out of it where we are entirely out of it from being exhausted by that trip and from the high altitude and from the delicious old fashions that the Stanley Hotel bar made.
Here's to 5 miserable months on the wagon.
And I think it's us talking about our Halloween experiences because it was in October, right before Halloween. So if you've never seen the podcast, maybe check that one out. It's a real fun one where Chelsea and I are just kind of chilling. And a lot of people have said it's one of their favorites. Wanna Play, which is probably said, wanna play? Asks how the process is when I make a kill count and how do I choose which movies I cover. Choosing the movie is always a fun thing for me because, you know, sometimes I will pick it based on events, whether they're holidays or maybe there's a sequel or remake coming out. Like when Zombieland 2 came out, I did Zombieland.
Time to nut up or shut up.
Other times, I like to look at how many Fridays are in a month and see if a franchise fits, and then I just kind of put it in there. And I try to make the franchise make sense to me seasonally, like Jaws was during the summer. That makes sense to me. As far as the process of making a kill count, I really want to do a video where I go step by step and explain in detail all the work that goes into it, because it's probably more than you think. But just brief rundown, first I watch the movie and I give it my full attention just to have my first impressions, especially if I've never seen it before. Then I write draft 1 of the script, usually takes me, I don't know, 4 to 5 hours. It involves me going through here on Premiere, and you can see here is Upgrade, which is an upcoming kill count. I will go through and just write on the side on the other screen while I'm watching the movie, and you know, I really try to strike the best balance between summarizing the things that you need in order to understand the movie and what it's trying to do, and trying to get rid of the superfluous stuff. Like, it sucks for me when the kill count becomes mostly plot summary and less jokes or behind the scenes stuff. But that's why the writing process takes so long, because I'm really trying to nail down the jokes, the summary, and get a good balance of that. Then what happens is I take this mic on my desk right here, this is attached to my computer, and I read out that first draft of the script. That's called a scratch track, and I send to my coverage editor, mostly Zoran, sometimes Joshua Lyon, he's been getting in on that lately. And what they're doing, what coverage is taking the movie and going through my script and then putting the relevant scenes down over my words. Now, this is a process that I used to do on my own. I think it takes, I don't know, 6 to 8 hours a script on average. So that's a day's worth of work. While they're putting that coverage over, I may be writing other scripts, or I may be doing research for the episode that they're covering. That research mostly involves Blu-ray special features, so when I get a Blu-ray and it doesn't have any special features, I get pissed. Anyway, I write down all the stuff that I find interesting or relevant, and lately I've actually been having one of my moderators, a guy named Christian, who is a great, smart horror movie enthusiast. He does his own research. He will do a deep dive into what actors have been in, behind the scenes stuff, and he'll send me his notes. So then I have my notes and Christian's notes, and they are ready to be implemented into a rewrite. I start putting those factoids into the new script, and then after that's done, I go to the top of the script and I just fix language. I have a tendency to write run-on sentences, which I also have a tendency to do while I speak. I'll punch up jokes, I'll make it funnier, I'll try to condense it as much as I can, but more often than not, the script grows by about 1,000 words. I think on average, still, the shooting script I end up with is between 4,000 and 5,000 words. I take the coverage that Zoran or Josh did, and then I watch it through while reading my new script, just to make sure that the footage still fits the words. If I've added a lot of stuff to the script, I check and make sure that there's movie footage to go over those words. If there's not, I may have to tailor it and make a note that I will be on screen during that because there's no movie footage. Sometimes you have more to say about a movie scene than there is footage of that movie scene. Finally, with that script all done and polished, a process that is another at least 5 hours per script, I print it out and then make a separate file that is just all the times that I'm on screen. I set up my set, which is also my dining area, which sucks, and setup takes at least an hour to put all the lights up, get myself hair and makeup ready, choose a shirt, set up the props, etc, etc. I'll first record all the off-screen stuff on audio only, so that means taking the printout of the script that I just did and I put it on a music stand and I just stand there with a mic and I record it. That is usually about 50 minutes to an hour. Then I move the music stand, put on the teleprompter that file that I made with just the on-screen stuff, and record all my on-screen stuff with the video file. After that, I have to pull down the green screen and do the number section. I send all that footage to the relevant editors. The on-screen and off-screen stuff goes to Bree, who has been editing with me for a very long time, I think since the Leprechaun series. And the number stuff goes to an editor at my YouTube channel, Made In, because now they make the graphics for me. Again, all this stuff I used to do by myself. Anyway, Bree cuts together all my video footage of me on screen and all the off-screen stuff, and she makes what's called an assembly cut, and it's like the best takes of everything I've said into the camera and into the mic. She sends that back to me, I go through it, and I just tighten it a little bit. I'm a very particular editor, because I, used to be an editor, still am. I send that back to her, and then she takes that file that Zoran or Josh did with the original script and the movie footage over it, she transfers that movie footage over to the new recording, which we call picture lock, kinda. She puts all that footage over it, she adjusts it because now it's new, it may be longer, it may be shorter, and then I get the graphics back from Made In, I send those to Bree, she implements those, she sends that whole thing back to me, and then I have about, 4 to 8 hour, depending on the episode. No, it's never 4. Who the fuck am I kidding? 6 to 10 hour, depending on the video, finishing session. I adjust the volume, I add in sound effects if they need be, any behind the scenes footage. It's a very long process with way more steps than you might expect. Because even after that's done, I gotta export it, I gotta make the thumbnail, I gotta upload it, I gotta add tags and the end screen and the ad breaks, all that shit, man. It takes a long time and a lot of work, but I love doing it, and it is much easier now that I've built up a team of people who I can trust with certain tasks. Hope you're glad I picked your question, Wanna Play. I hope you got your money's worth. Heath Chase says that they fall asleep watching Kill Count or the podcast or just our content, which you're not alone, Heath. A lot of people have said that, which that's cool to me. But Heath also asks if I have a show or something else that I fall asleep to. Nah, man, I need it to be dark. I need it to be quiet, although I do listen to rain sounds every night. Really helps, I recommend it. Nevermind K asks about film school and the whole film school experience. Chelsea and I both went to the University of Michigan, sometimes ranked the #1 public university in the country, go blue, and we majored in film, which back then was called Screen Arts and Culture. I don't know what it's called now, but back then it was SAC. And the thing with their program was that it was much more theory and history based than production. In fact, they limited the amount of production classes that applied towards your major, which was fucking so dumb. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's worth it. We grew up in a time where everyone was told you have to go to college to get a good job. And while that, while that may be true, don't take life advice from me, I'm just a YouTuber. I don't think as far as the film industry goes, it's necessarily true. I think the most valuable things that I got out of film school were the connections I made. I'm still friends with 40 or more people who I graduated with. We still hang out on a weekly basis when we're not quarantined. And I think that's the most valuable thing I got out of it. Also, some personal advice I'll give is learn how to edit right now. I've been editing since I was in, probably 7th or 8th grade. I was making videos and teaching myself how to edit in Sony Vegas and early versions of Premiere. But I was able to edit my own short films, which, I mean, didn't make them good, but it still gave me more experience. It's a big leg up. Editing work is always available. If you want to be a director or a screenwriter, that's cool. A lot of people want to do those things, and those people aren't as often hired on other projects. You kind of have to make your own way. But if you know how to edit, you can get in on other projects going on because it's a specialized skill that not everyone knows how to do. So my advice is, if you really want to do the film industry, learn post-production, man. Learn editing. It'll probably keep you employed. Alyssa, aka All Horror here, asks if I've ever had a dog, and if so, what kind? I had 2 dogs growing up, and they were apparently the worst dogs of all time. I didn't even know that dogs could be well behaved, because the dogs that I had growing up were so fucking awful that I just thought that that's how dogs were. But basically, I had Holly, little gray mixed terrier, who, whenever you opened the door, she would try to run out, and if she got out, well, she was around the neighborhood. Me and my sister would have to go out there with a leash in one hand and slices of American cheese in the other, and we'd have to try to fucking get Holly to come over to us close enough to hook her. But she would run across streets, into parks. I am shocked that dog lived to an old age and never got hit by a car. The other dog was Princess, who was a purebred Sheltie. She was something special. We would be walking her, and then a lot of the times during walks, she would just give up and roll on her back. And then you'd be like, all right, I guess I have to carry this fucking dog home. So you'd walk over to her, and she'd roll onto her back and then pee. And since she was on her back, the pee would just go up and then come back down onto her. Just cover her in pee, man. And then she still wouldn't walk, so you'd have to carry this piss-covered dog all the way home. Yeah, those dogs were not the greatest dog. I don't think my parents ever trained those dogs. They're pretty much feral dogs, so I would like to have another dog someday, maybe a corgi. They're pretty cute, maybe a bigger dog, and hopefully I could train them better than the childhood dogs I had, because looking back, those dogs sucked, man. I still loved them, but they sucked. Owo, or I don't know how you pronounce that, but dude, why are you all over the comments, and then why does everyone respond to your comments and is like, wow, I see you everywhere? What's up with you? What kind of life do you lead? Anyway, they ask if I ran out of horror movies, what other kind of movie would I cover? I wouldn't, and the people who ask what my plans are when I run out of horror movies, that's not a thing, man. I will grant you that I have gone through a lot of the older big franchises. Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Final Destination. Haven't done Hellraiser, but I think people are gonna check out after the first 3 or 4 movies anyway.
We have such sights to show you.
I don't think I'll run out of movies ever, because not only do we have new ones coming in, but guys, there's just fucking thousands of horror movies out there. And I know it may feel like I've gone through them all, but to me, there are still so many that are interesting, that deserve my deep dive into, and that I want to share with you all. So I don't know, think about movies like Ice Cream Man. That's a popular episode, and I think a lot of people liked what I had to say about it, even though I think most people had never heard of it before I covered it. It's grenadine for my ice cream treats. I can't wait to show you shit like Basket Case, which is the same kind of thing. And of course there's Psycho. I haven't done Psycho. That's 5 or 6 movies, depending on how you count them.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Short story, I don't think I'm gonna run out of horror movies. And I don't wanna cover other movies because horror is kind of its own world. I feel confident in that world. You start talking about other movies, that's way too big of a net to cast. And I don't feel as confident being able to say, you know, anything about action movies, especially because that genre has never appealed to me. If I ever decide, oh fuck, I'm out of horror movies, then that's it for me, man. I'm not gonna start covering Marvel movies or action movies or whatever else, because I don't think I can speak with authority on those movies, and I don't wanna just, you know, give you bullshit just to give myself views and ad revenue. That's dumb. The reason I make these videos, like, yes, it's my job, but it's also something that I absolutely love and that I feel like I'm giving you something of value, because even if you're a fan of the genre, I like to think, oh, hey, you like horror? I have the time and means to make it my job so I can study these things. Here, let me tell you something that maybe you don't know. And I want to continue to add value to the world with my work, not just you know, just run through movies that I don't really care about and try to just get views out of them. Wow, it's dark as hell outside because I've been talking for fucking ever. And in fact, I talked for so long, I'm gonna cut this video into 2. This is the end of part 1. You'll have the second part, I don't know when, maybe tomorrow, maybe in a month. Who the fuck knows, man? Regardless, this is the end of part 1 of me answering questions. I hope they were great, and I hope they were entertaining, and I hope you learned a lot from them. You should be excited because next week, kill count's coming back up. The break's over. As of right now, the break's over. You just watched your last non-kill count video on a Friday. They're coming up, and they're coming hard and fast. Starting with Monday, fucking Evil Bong on 420, so get ready for that, and then next Friday is Upgrade. Enjoy this. Thanks to my editors for making this happen, and I'll see y'all around next time. I'm James. Be good people.